Ridiculous. Okay. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening. We'll move on to C2, report of actions taken in closed session. During the closed session in the matter of public employee discipline, dismissal release, Government Code Section 54957, the board acted to authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources to terminate a classified employee holding the position of Special Education Assistant and Noon Duty Supervisor from the Santa Rosa City School District. The motion was made by Director Fong, second by Director Sheffield, and the vote was 6-0 with 1 absence. Moving on to C3, items considered in closed session for action in open session. I need a motion on student expulsion, case number 2019-20-01.
I move to amend the panel's recommendation to full expulsion with placement at Omarosa.
I second.
Okay, moved by Director McCormick, second by Director Manieri. Roll call vote, please.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director Manieri? Director De La Cruz?
No.
Director Fong?
No.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, that motion carries, and we will move to statements of abstention, C4. Any statements?
Yes, I need to abstain from consent item E8.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to adjustments to the agenda, that means we will pull E8. Anything else?
Thank you.
No. C6, board member request for information. I'm actually going to make a public request for information, and that is that I'd like us to schedule a discussion item around our preparation for active shooter situations and our policy around discipline related to bringing weapons to school. Thank you. Any others? Okay, C7, approval of revised minutes of the regular board meeting held on, sorry, I just lost my connection, I think. Held on August 28th, 2019.
Move for approval of minutes on August 28th.
Second.
Moved by Director Sheffield, second by Director Manieri. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Manieri? Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, that motion carries and brings us to C8, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting held on September 11th, 2019.
Move for approval of minutes on September 11th,
Second.
2019.
Moved by Director Sheffield, second by Director Manieri. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sheffield? Director Manieri? Aye. Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, that motion carries, and it brings us to C9, public comment on non-agenda items. This is the opportunity for members of the public to speak to the board on non-agenda items. Comments on items that are on the agenda will take place during the discussion on that agenda item. If you have any comments related to personnel matters, if you could instead direct them to Assistant Superintendent Stacy Spector, who is identifying herself there. If you have something to say, you can submit a blue card to our board clerk, Lori Kolachek. Speakers are limited 3 minutes each. And I have 3 cards. So we will start with, can you queue up at those podiums up there? Nan Taylor, and then Pam Karbowski, and then Jake Lehrer.
I'm bringing my mental support up here with me. Nan Taylor, I'm a moderate severe SDC teacher with the Brook Hill RISE program. I am here to speak in regards to the issue brought up last board meeting about the moderate severe SDC RISE program. I am no longer willing to suffer due to the district's inability to support a classroom they chose to take back from SCO. It wasn't until after last board meeting that I finally had some hope I would be provided the supports this classroom so desperately needs. In an email sent from a member of the district, I was told every effort would be made to ensure that at least one assistant was in my classroom every day. On Thursday, September 12th, I had 3 aides in my classroom and we had a great day. Unfortunately, this time was short-lived. On Friday, September 13th, I arrived to school with no support. I had to skip my first period prep that day as I sat in my classroom and could hear one of my students screaming in frustration in music class. However, a substitute did arrive a little after 9 a.m. that day and told me that she had let the district know she would be late, expecting an important phone call, and only take the job if I were aware of that. I was never communicated this information. Her phone rang and she stepped out to take a call. During a transition time while she was out of the classroom, behaviors escalated to a point where I needed to ask for immediate assistance over the radio, as one student had flipped a desk and another attempted to become physically aggressive. That substitute canceled the job she had picked up for the remaining 4 days. On September 17th, I had no substitute in my classroom. On September 19th, I had one substitute assigned from the district who went out on her lunch break to never return. She failed to let myself, the principal, or the front desk know that she would not be returning that day. On Monday, September 20th, I had reached my breaking point without the supports in a moderate severe autism program. Without the supports this program requires, we are ultimately punishing these students for the disabilities they have, and I will not tolerate that. I do not want to walk away from this job. I love these students, but I also have to feel and take care of myself and feel appreciated by you guys here at the district. How could this possibly be the best practice for these kind, loving, amazing young students we have? Thank you.
Thank you. And Jake Lehrer.
Good evening. My name is Pam Karbowski, and I am a PE teacher at Brook Hill and Biella Elementary Schools. I am once again here to speak about how desperate we are for help at Brook Hill. First off, I do not have a special ed or adaptive PE credential, but yet I am working with the special needs students. What I do know is how much they need consistency and structure. When our RISE program students come to me, I am not completely clear of their expectations and how to handle their behaviors. On Monday, I had one child shove another onto the ground. When I went to handle the situation, I was called stupid, told they hated PE, and then they ran off. Luckily, that day, there was one aide. That aide ran off after the child, so here I was, left with the rest of the students. What would happen if another child would run off? What would happen if another child shoved another student? Again, I am not certified in this area, so I am unsure at times on how to handle situations. Yesterday, when that same class came to me, our principal and another aide came with them. Our principal, as she needs to do because she's trying to run a school, had another incident that she needed to take care of. The next thing I knew, in a blink of an eye, the class fell apart. One student was screaming at the top of their lungs, running away. Another was screaming at me, "You're stupid, I hate PE, shut up," while one was frantically running circles around in fear. One boy was hovering in a corner, biting his lower lip, as the biggest one was trying to control the situation. In the meantime, this was happening in front of 3 classrooms. So not only was there distraction happening outside, but all the classrooms inside were also being distracted. And is it their fault? No, not at all. There has not been consistency or help that these students deserve. Luckily, when this incident happened, our principal did hear and ran around the corner and helped out in the best way that she could. Our principal is trying to manage multiple situations because we don't have the support staff or resources we need. She is all over campus trying to do all she can. She's asked for help, and we definitely are not getting it, and we need it. I can't stress this enough. This is my 3rd time now coming to you asking for help. We at Brook Hill could use all the help that we can get. not just for this particular class, but on campus in general. We need smaller class sizes, we need more teachers, and putting them in combo classes is not going to make our students succeed. We at Brook Hill want to see our students be safe and learning in a positive environment to be successful now and for their future. I can't stress again, we need help. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Lara?
Hi. I'm the past president and treasurer of Friends of ArcWest at Santa Rosa High School, and you were sent a letter today, or either today or yesterday, and I just want to read that letter to you. It's about the ArcWest counselor. We, the Friends of ArcWest board, we're very excited and pleased to hear the Santa Rosa High School counselor has been assigned to ArcWest students for grades 9th through 11th. We fully support this addition to such a wonderful and rewarding program within our district. With around 550 ArcWest students, having a counselor who understands the appropriate scheduling options to meet both high school and post-secondary requirements is long overdue. ArcWest students will now have a counselor who will be aware of and advocate for master schedule issues that impact individual student schedules. Additionally, this will also allow for better alignment within the entire school. As you may know, visual and performing arts, or VEPA, college programs usually have atypical application requirements. The ArcWest counselor will have the opportunity to interact with VEPA college representatives and admission counselors to better guide ArcWest students in their post-secondary pursuit. This interaction with VEPA representatives will also allow for better coordination of college visits and events, as well as the awareness of VEPA scholarships and grants. In addition, with increased interaction and communication, the ArcWest counselor will provide opportunities to work with the ArcWest coordinator, faculty, and staff, allowing for input on items such as general planning, recruitment, transfers, and core-related ArcWest classes and sections. We applaud Santa Rosa High School Principal, Dr. Kimberly Clishold, in understanding the needs of ArcWest students at Santa Rosa High School. Upon hearing the news, students were excited and motivated to begin working with the ArcWest counselor, although many seniors were disappointed they will not be afforded this opportunity. Thank you again for supporting Dr. Clishold in her decision to provide ArcWest students a counselor who will encourage their aspirations and support their pursuit of the arts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have no other blue cards, so we'll move on to reports. CSEA, President Alfonso.
Wait, I wanted to speak to public comment.
Good evening. Tammy Alfonso, President, CSEA Chapter 75. President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, school board members, and student board member. Tonight we welcome 27 new classified employees. Say farewell to 5 members representing 6 years and 4 months of service to the students of this district. Retiring 1 member representing 15 years and 10 months. Her knowledge and dedication to the site, staff, and students will be missed. What have we been up to? Cindy Brennan, Betty Garcia, and myself have had our first meeting going over the job descriptions that have been presented to us. We have another meeting scheduled for tomorrow. We have sent out our successor contract survey, and members are responding on a daily basis. Next steps will be after the completion of the survey, we'll present it to the chapter members, and from there we'll get their direction and develop our openers for the district. With the recent news of the changing to a new student system again, CSEA hopes to be included from step 1. We will work closely with the district on having all members successfully trained. Our members have already begun sending their thoughts on how and when trainings can be held. We would like this process to be successful for all those being trained and have a minimal impact on our parents, students, and staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. SRTA, President Lyon.
Good evening, President Close, Dr. Kitamura, and members of the board, members of the community. I'm William Lyon. I'm the president of Santa Rosa Teachers Association, representing over 600 educators in our district. Tonight, I want to thank you for the work that we've done together on settling some of the PERB issues. I specifically want to thank the board members who've met with me to hear out some of our positions, and I want to thank President Close and Dr. Kitamura for joining Catherine Howell, our chief negotiator, and I, and reaching what I think is a win-win settlement. Haven't quite tied the bow on it yet. I think one lawyer has the finger on the bow and the other one's gonna tie it, and that'll happen by the end of the week, but I'm 100% sure we're gonna finish it up, and I'm really grateful for the work that we're doing as we solve those problems, and I look forward to better times all around. Once we can get past this, we got lots of things to work on, and I look forward to that. I sincerely thank all of you for your work on that. I also want to thank you in advance. I'm sure you'll all vote yes on E10, which is the approval of the certificated salary placement guidelines. We think that's a major move forward in attracting staff into our membership, and we're grateful for that. We would like in the future for you to consider finding a way to make some of that retroactive so that we can also retain people that weren't hired this year. As I understand it, except for one item, none of this is retroactive. So it will definitely make it easier to attract, and we are asking for a yes vote on that. And in the future, if there's a way to expand that so that we can also apply those to members who were hired before this year, we would be grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's report? Oh, LMC report, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
See what happens when you try to go from memory?
That's okay. Good evening, President Close, directors, Superintendent Kitamura, and members of the public. Actually, this evening, the LMC report will be made by CSEA 75 Vice President Betty Garcia and an HR technician.
Hi, thank you for that wonderful introduction. The LMC met on September 12, 2019 to continue our work. CSEA site and district administration members were present. SRTA will continue to be invited to participate. During our meeting, we recommitted to the purpose of the LMC in our own words: improving lives of the students and staff that work at SRCS, checking our initiatives to ensure positive outcomes. LMC is using collaborative views and changing policy. Check and balance to strategic plan how we are moving forward. Here's what we accomplished. We reviewed the Board of Education strategic plan review and discussed how would our LMC work on safety and security fit into the mission, vision, strategic priorities. Reviewed safety issues that have come up since last we met. Nationwide shootings, lockdowns, etc. Discussed implications for creating physically and psychologically safe schools of students, staff, and community. Principal Aida Diaz shared lessons learned from LMC feedback and discussion-making model of her school safety plan. Superintendent Kitamura shared lessons learned from Santa Rosa High School lockdown. Assistant Superintendent Steve Mazzara shared current update on safety plan work at the site and district level as a result of our conversation and reflection. Here's what we realized and we will impact our next steps and what will impact our next steps. Sorry, I'm really nervous. I don't do this very often.
You're doing fine.
We will have implemented technical changes like locks, cameras, etc. We need to also focus on relationships with students so that they know a safe adult to talk to and share issues or concerns. We need to straighten our partnerships with community resources such as sheriff, police, fire, etc. We need to review and retain all staff on comprehensive safety and crisis management. What we left with that day is that LMC is a way to collaborate with management and be able to live out our actual mission statement. appreciate this time collaboratively problem solving and communicating differently, even when missing pockets of people. Always believe leadership in the middle, not about top down. Listening, hearing, and considering people's thoughts from all constituencies. Problem solve and come up with the best plan. Collaborative perspectives, how powerful this is, listening and learning from other people. Hearing how others have been impacted, it is a process of checker safety. Look back at that point and how process has worked. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now can I go?
Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to thank the Friends of ArcQuest for presenting the letter tonight. In addition, I think we received another 3 letters supporting the decision made at Santa Rosa High School regarding ArcQuest. I also want to ask the board whether it would be okay, and I'd like to add an agenda item for the next meeting, because I want the staff at Brook Hill to understand that it isn't for the lack of trying to get people into these positions to help support. There just is no workforce. And so rather than continuing for what I see happening at the site in terms of the angst and the anxiousness, and us really like just almost beating our heads against the wall about how do we solve this, I think it needs to come forward as an item, an agenda item at the next meeting, and we discuss what are the underlying factors that is creating the situation, and really talk about what kind of solutions we need to move towards. And so that is my request, and if the board would so allow, I'd like to bring that forward on the next board meeting. Okay, thank you. So let me switch gears here a little bit. I want to thank the City of Santa Rosa and the County of Sonoma for being a part of their emergency services committees during this last public safety power shut-off time. This PSPS is what it's called. I think you've all received about 20,000 letters from me in the last five days. I'm very appreciative of the relationship with the city and the county so that we can be really at the forefront of information. What I appreciate from staff and families and everybody involved in the community is that it is at the moment's notice to say we're gonna shut it off, and a moment's notice to say, okay, we made a mistake, we're not gonna shut it off. And so last night we were waiting about 8 o'clock. We thought we were gonna have to shut down one school today, and then about 15 minutes later we said, no, we're not gonna have to shut down the school. The other thing that I wanna say is that this is not like the fires. So when we had the fires, we didn't have to make up those school days. Well, the state of California does not recognize days missed because of a PSPS as excusable. So we have to actually make those days up at the end of the school year. So for graduating seniors in the audience, what does that mean for graduation? There's a lot of factors that I want our legislators to take a look at, because this could happen from 18 to 30 days in the school year. That's what some of the predictions are. So can you imagine making up 18 to 30 days at the end of the school year? It's gonna be rough. The other thing is, I think we need to put pressure on PG&E. I believe they should, and I hope you're watching, I believe they should give every school that is in the grid that could possibly be shut down, and for us, there's about 3 to 5 schools that are really in that zone. They need to put a generator at each of those schools. It's about $1 million per school. They also need to put one at the district office so we can keep the technology going so we can be sure to communicate. So I ask you as a community and as a school community, help us help the state understand the impact to our schools when these happen, number one, and number two, PG&E needs to cough up generators for our schools. So let's see, I think that's it, thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank SRTA and CSEA for meeting with the executive board on the board and the superintendent to give input and suggestions to our draft strategic plan, our mission, vision, and priorities. It was really, really helpful and really meaningful feedback, and we had some really good discussions, and in fact, we're gonna have to continue that discussion, or we get to continue that discussion on Monday with SRTA, because we didn't quite finish up. We got so much good feedback. It was really helpful, so I appreciate that, that participation in the process. And I'd also remind the public that we have a few more days, that the survey is open at our website to provide feedback to our draft strategic plan document. So if you could go online if you haven't yet and do that, that would be appreciated. On October 2nd, I just want to make an announcement that one of the things that Mayor Schwedhelm and I talked about when he was first elected by his council to be the mayor is that he wanted to talk to students more. And so we decided that we are going to have a traveling town hall and go to each of the Santa Rosa City Schools high schools just to listen to students. And so we put that invitation out to all the high schools, and we have 2 scheduled, one at Piner and one at Ridgeway, and we look forward to scheduling the others. That will probably continue with whoever my successor is. But on October 2nd, we'll do the first one with Piner, and we're real excited to do that, and hope that this becomes a regular thing. Along those lines, on October 14th, for the first time in many years, we are bringing back the joint City Council and Santa Rosa School Board meeting. And so we'll have a joint meeting here in these chambers on October 14th, and we're looking forward to that, and to that becoming, again, a semi-regular thing as it was in the past. One thing I learned since we scheduled this, and I think this is something that we could talk about that night, is that the city of Cloverdale, they have joint meetings once a year, but then on a more regular basis, they each have committees. So they have a council of 5 and a school board of 5, and so they have 2 members of each of their councils that meet on a quarterly basis, so that they're just in regular communication, which I think makes then the joint meetings a little bit easier to plan. So that's something maybe we can talk about in the future. I also, while I don't want to jinx it before it's inked, so I'm not going to speak to the settlement specifically between SRTA and the board, I do want to just thank the superintendent and President Lyon and Catherine Howell for the discussions that we've had over the last couple weeks about some ongoing conflicts between the district and SRTA, but most importantly about discussions around some resolution to those, and about ways to avoid that kind of conflict in the future, and how we can mend some relationships and get along better in the future. So those have been really positive, forward-looking discussions, and I appreciate those efforts and look forward to there being a deal inked that we can talk about in more detail at our next meeting. And then from that, we will go on to board member reports, and we'll start with Director Sheffield.
Thank you. Diane had thanked the city of Santa Rosa and the county on the PG&E power shelves, but I also want to thank you, Diane, and the district office. You know, given the uncertainty and confusion that was around these proposed shutoffs since Sunday, the district office has done everything it can to keep the public and families and the schools up to date in actual real time of what was going on. And I think this needs to be said to the public, because you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. You might get the updates, but the communication that is going on, the communication with the county, with the city, with PG&E officials, translating it is a lot of work. And you know, the previous week, a week ago, we had a I guess a little test with an unplanned power outage that impacted some of our schools as well. And you know, there were some hiccups and lessons learned, but I think what the community needs to know is that this is uncharted water. And so everything that we're addressing, that the district office is addressing on this, is we've not experienced anything like this. The state hasn't experienced anything like this. As far as I know, I'm not sure if any state has experienced anything like this. And so we just ask that you're patient and understanding, and know that all of this is lessons learned. Also, just want to get an update. Last week, I was pleased to attend the EdTrust West Conference. and the theme around it was just an amazing equity conference. And it started with a great opening by the president and CEO, John B. King. And one message that he said in his presentation that resonated well with me was that California cannot get complacent in our progressivism. And this sort of became a theme throughout the rest of the conference because it was echoed by a lot of the presenters in the breakout session. Another quote that I copied from one of the presenters was Alicia Smith Arega, I can't pronounce her name, but she said that every student is capable of achieving if we give them the right support. And this is really important for us in this district. She continued by saying education is not only about kids and their abilities, but it's also about adults and the decisions that we make. I wanted to share that with the board. I wanted to share that with the entire district. There were many great breakout sessions that I attended, including one that was Pathways to and Through College, the Fight for Fiscal Adequacy, Bridging the Gap in a Review and Foundation, Listening Practices, which I will then take and share the information that I gleaned from this session with the SRCS Foundation incubation team that we'll be meeting soon on. And then lastly, much respect and love to Dr. Bettina Love, who was the keynote speaker on Thursday. She's an author and professor and educator on educational theory and practice. And much of the work that she does and what she talked about was the research in the area of urban youth from a social, cultural, and political perspective. And this is so, so important in California and also in our district. As a whole, the conference sort of focused on, and I'm sure that Lori will probably give her insights as well, was just around the way that we think about mainstream perspectives when it comes to students of color and equity and social justice. And much of the theme of the overall conference was reminiscent of the 1619 Project, and if none of you are familiar with that, you should definitely look into it. And I'll stop there and just say that it was great to be there representing the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Director McCormick.
I had the pleasure of going to Ridgeway High School's back to school night last week, and I actually popped in a little early and attended the end of their ELAC meeting, and Principal Jordan was working really hard to recruit some parent involvement because to get involved with their WASC accreditation process that's beginning, and they really need help at all the schools on this when the accreditation comes around, so get that on your radar because they always need parent help and parent feedback in that process. And during the meeting, some of the parents were expressing that they needed more guidance and support on how to register their students at Santa Rosa Junior College, either to supplement what they're doing with their studies at Ridgeway or to actually start their freshman year next year. And they were talking about financial aid, and it can be a really daunting process, and I'm glad I was in the room when they were talking about it because I've worked at Santa Rosa JC as a faculty member the last 20 years, and I told them that night, and then I've been talking to people since that conversation. I realized that people do not know this incredible news, and I just wanted to publicly talk about it, and thank you for pulling it up for me. So this is Santa Rosa Junior College's website, and if you go to Santa Rosa Junior College and you search financial aid, you'll find the California College Promise Grant. And this is a new grant that has just started this year that basically allows everybody 2 free years of community college if you're a full-time student. Let me say that again. 2 free years of community college for a full-time student. You have to be a full-time student to qualify, and that's it. There's no other qualification. So,
did you say free?
Free, capital F, free, 2 years. And it's not just Santa Rosa JC, it's any California community college. Any. So I'm not going to go into detail right now, but when I started talking to people and I realized people do not know about this, you guys need to know about this. So shout it from the mountaintops and let people know. And if you want more information on specifics, I highly recommend that you set up a meeting. We have a whole financial aid office and people will sit down with you one-on-one and take you through the whole thing. But if you just want to be pointed in the right direction of who to talk to, feel free to email me and I'd be happy to give you that information. So I just wanted to make sure. So Promise Grant, check it out. Free school. All right. Back to school night. I have been to a lot of back to school nights in my day, both as a teacher and as a parent. And I have never been to a back to school night before where the entire body of people there, parents, students, teachers, administrators, board member, sat down and shared a meal together, a meal that was prepared by the culinary students at Ridgeway, and our student representative down there, Jasmine Moreno, was one of the chefs, and I have to say it was delicious, but what a way to start the school year, to have everybody sit down and break bread together and then move into back to school night and disseminating information. So I was really impressed by that, and it was pretty cool. And then also last week, and I won't talk too much about this because I assume a couple of other of our directors are going to talk about it as well, but some of us us new board members are starting our Masters in Governance training, which is curriculum for board members through CSBA, and it's nice. They're holding it at SCO now, so we don't have to travel to Sacramento or San Jose or the city. So it's right here in town, and the courses that we completed this weekend were Foundations of Effective Governance, Setting Directions, and that was fun because we actually got to, one of our assignments was to bring our strategic plan with us, and so we actually got to do some work with our draft of our strategic plan that we're working on right now, so that was pretty cool. Student Learning and Achievement, and Policy and Judicial Review. So we have 3 more courses coming up this fall, and we're really excited about that. And then the last thing I wanted to throw out there, this summer, a representative from the Volkswagen dealership came and spoke about this Donors Choose opportunity, and I wanted to remind everybody, so if you go to Volkswagen here in Santa Rosa and you test drive any vehicle, they will give you a $20 gift certificate to use towards the Donors Choose website, which is a website that many of our teachers here in this district use as mini grants to help fund things that they want, extra things that they want to bring into their classroom. And the last day that is offered is September 30th. So you basically have this week, if you've got some time and you have a teacher that you would like to go on there and give to, go test drive a Volkswagen, get that $20 gift certificate and give it back to your teachers so they can use it in the classroom. And I used mine, and I put it towards Mr. Carpenter's science class at Pioneer High School for a project that he's working on. And that's it.
Did they sell you a car?
No.
Did they try?
Tried to. I had 2 kids in college, but they went to the JC, but now they're not at the JC anymore, so it costs money.
Director Fong.
How many seniors in high school are in the audience? And what did Director Jill McCormick say about education? Where can you get free education? All right, so they're checking for understanding.
Can I ask a follow-up question to the audience?
Yes.
How many adults here started at a community college in California? Not a bad place to start, huh? All right, okay.
I would like to thank you, Jenny Close, Board President, Diane Kitamura, our Superintendent, Will Lyon, Union President, SRTA, Catherine Howell, SRTA, is right there, and CSEA, and Betty Garcia was it Garcia, who spoke eloquently about the LMC. And it's all to say that, and I thank my fellow board members because we are all attending educational events also. We're trying to figure out how to be the best board members we can, the best trustees, to learn as much as we can as a good governance team. And I have to say, when I was in education as a teacher, I wasn't paying very much attention to the board whatsoever. Didn't know what they did, didn't care what they did. I was only in my classroom making sure I was taking care of my kids. But as we're learning, the governance team is a really integral part. Okay, this is for your lessons, you guys. This is you guys going to the government class, right? So this is a governance team, and how well this governance team works together, you know, not that we're friends or anything, although we're friendly, collegial and collaborative, is really the strength of a district and how we work with our one employee, the superintendent, to make things go forward for all of our students, all the students that come with all of their challenges, with all their unique gifts. So thank you for everybody trying to work hard. Thank you for everybody I named for working hard, because we have to move forward with positive intent. Positive intent. And we build positive intent through trust and through communication and collaboration, and just keep going back to the well. Going back to the well when things get rough, we just keep going back to the well. So I thank all of you for doing that, because we can't move forward for our kids, which is relating to the point of going to the equity conference that I went to with Director Sheffield. It is urgent in our district, in our state, everywhere, urgent to reach the students that we are not reaching. We are just not reaching enough of our students. We have plenty of students who are doing well. In my mind, rough data, 70% are doing good, doing well enough. 30%, 80% of our attention may be on that 20%. Let's just put it that way. It's the 80-20 rule, have you heard of that? But it has to do with class, poverty, identity, race, gender. It has to do with all of that. And teachers are working very hard, but also we have to go in with maybe a different mindset. What are we not providing for these kids? And so I was galvanized at this workshop because it has happened. We need to do it now. We can't do it tomorrow. We can't do it next year or the next year. We cannot wait. We cannot wait. And so I'm really proud of this governance team here, with help from Diane Kitamura, of our strategic plan. And so if you haven't yet put your 2 cents in or laid eyes on that strategic plan, it's on the internet, you can find it, and just say, this, look, what are we interested in? What do you have to say? What's missing in this thing? What don't you understand? What's important here? The most important thing, are we hitting the right notes? So we're asking our community to bring that back to us, because we can't do it in a vacuum. So we've said this to you many, many times, many, many weeks, and especially students, you have a voice. So please do that as well. So thank you, everybody. Good.
Thank you. Director Manieri.
So as Director McCormick briefly shared, I'm also one of the board members going through the Masters in Governance training, and we had our first 2 courses last week, and I learned a lot. I feel like I gained like 2 years of knowledge, so I feel older, if that makes sense. Like I feel so much more mature after those meetings and the workshops that we went through. And I'm really excited for the courses that are coming up. We're gonna talk about finances and budget and a lot of other things that I think all board members and anyone in governance should have a strong foundation in. So I'm really excited, and I'm really grateful, as Director McCormick shared, that these classes are being offered at the Sonoma County Office of Education, because normally one would have to travel pretty far and for a couple of days to obtain these classes. So I'm really grateful for that. So shout out to Dr. Harrington for inviting the courses to be held at the new building at SCO. And I want to share really quickly just a couple of things that are happening in our community, because I think that they're really important. The first is that there is going to be a workshop on public charge.
and at the Lombardi Clinic on Saturday, October 5th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you want or need to learn about the changes that are going to affect our immigration law, this is a really great workshop to go to, and Santa Rosa Community Health is a great and safe place to learn about these things. And I'll repeat all of this in Spanish if that's okay at the end, just so that if anyone watches the video, they have this information. La Plaza is also, La Sola Plaza is our community hub at Abraham Lincoln Elementary School. They are hosting a series of Dad's Cafe, and this is for fathers, mentors, tutors, other men in children's lives that have made a commitment to keeping kids safe. They are going to have a series of these cafes on October 11th and November 8th in the evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And again, this is at La Plaza. So these are just a couple of things that are happening in our community that are available to our community. And I always strongly encourage folks to be aware of what's happening in our community because there's a lot of great stuff. So I'm just going to repeat all that in Spanish. El sábado, el 5 de octubre, va a haber un taller sobre la carga pública. Entonces, si hay personas que necesitan o quieren aprender sobre los nuevos cambios en la ley de inmigración, Santa Rosa Community Health, la clínica de Lombardi, va a tener este taller y es un lugar seguro donde pueden obtener esta información. También la plaza en Abraham Lincoln Elementary School van a tener una serie de cafés de padres y esos cafés van a ser una oportunidad para padres, mentores, tutores, otros hombres en las vidas de niños, de nuestros niños que han comprometido a mantenernos o mantener a ellos seguros y ellos van a tener estos cafés en las tardes de 6 a 8 en la plaza, octubre 11 y noviembre 8 en la plaza, Abraham Lincoln Elementary School. And then really quickly, just to end, I just want to acknowledge all of the students who were present for the climate march. I think that is so amazing and such an important thing that our students were involved in. And I just want to say that I'm right there with you, and I wish I could have physically been present, but I was at the Masters in Governance course. So I just want to say that that is so awesome. I know that it's something that all of us need to have a sense of urgency about. It's not a question, it's a matter of doing. And so I just appreciate and want to acknowledge those who were able and made the decision to show up. And for those who weren't present and were there in spirit, I also want to acknowledge that because I know that there are some folks who maybe wanted to be there but couldn't or made the decision not to, and I also want to acknowledge that. So thank you.
Director De La Cruz.
I'll just pick up right where Steph left off. So I want to give a special shout out to the educators and staff and admin who were able to connect kids in our schools and their learning with activism and during the climate march. And I know there were a few teachers who walked out with their kids and who really rolled in the learning opportunities that I think are so central to this movement, which was started by kids. Because you all know how much we've messed up this planet, and it's yours with our responsibility right now to make sure that we do something about it. So thank you so much for your activism and leadership in pushing these issues forward. And special shout out to those teachers who really figured out a way to connect those learning opportunities and get kids out there. In that same kind of theme, shout out to folks who are celebrating International Walk and Roll Day on October 2nd, which is a wonderful way of celebrating Santa Rosa City Schools, our neighborhood schools, those kids and families who walk and bike and skateboard and roll however they get to school, doing it outside, also thinking about our planet and the way that we can be more visible in our community, make sure that our streets are safe. And again, in that theme, I know that there is some effort from board members to really connect with the district and with schools who are also being leaders with regard to safe routes to schools and really making sure that, again, our streets are safe for kids and their families who are making good decisions to find a different way to get into school than just driving. So October 2nd, it's a Wednesday. Proctor Terrace is gonna have a really cool event, and I'm psyched about that, and I would love to hear about other schools and what they're doing to celebrate that day. I also want to give a shout out to Elizabeth Evans for pulling us together for another study session on ethnic studies. It was a really good conversation, learning from other jurisdictions about how they have rolled out an ethnic studies program, what's working, how to support teachers who have been teaching ethnic studies in the best way that they can without kind of a formalized program, and how we step forward into the future to make sure that we do that well. So thank you to folks who showed up for those conversations, and I'm really excited to hear what we come up with. Also, a huge thank you to President Close, Superintendent, admin staff, Will, Tammy, but to folks on two sides of a very difficult issue who were able to reach resolution in what I think is a really beautiful way of coming together and moving forward into the future. So just really want to thank you for all your hard work in moving us forward. So yay to resolution of EOPs. And then just a big thank you to the district for supporting us to be good leaders and supporting us to do this Masters in Governance program. So it was really fun to hang out with my colleagues and to be creative and informed and better equipped to do the really important work that you have honored us by choosing us to do this for you and with you. So thank you and thank you.
Thank you. Director Moreno.
So I had the pleasure to present our youth design crew to all Ridgeway staff on Wednesday. It was actually really powerful, I believe, and magical in a way, and I want to thank Superintendent Kitamura for going and Director Guzman for being there. I feel like we have really impacted the schools and how teachers need to help us out and how we need to help teachers, and I feel like that's really good. And that's it.
Thank you, and thank you for participating in that. It's important. Really quickly on the CSBA, NSBA report, I did attend my last of, I think, 4 meetings of the CSBA Legislative Committee, and I'm not going to do a big report on that, although I will send out some of my colleagues, I think, the final recommendations of the committee with respect to the legislative items. But Superintendent and I did discuss that one thing that we're going to both reach out to CSBA on, me through the legislative committee and Superintendent through her participation in the admin and Superintendent Council, is that we're probably going to need some legislation around ADA protection related to the public safety power shutoffs. And so we will start working on that. And probably we'll ask for Director Sheffield's wise counsel on that as well, I think. So with that, we will move to our consent agenda. I need a motion on, we'll do E8 separately, but I need a motion on E1 through E7 and E9 and E10.
I move approval of consent items E2 through E7, no, E1 through E7.
E1 through E7.
Second.
We're doing separately. So wait, so what we need E1 through E7, E9, E10.
E1 through E7, E9, and 10. We'll skip 8 for now.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Director Fong, second by Director De La Cruz. Roll call vote, please.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick? Aye. Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Director Moreno?
Okay, that motion carries, and then I'll call for a motion on E8.
Move to approve consent item E8.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Fong, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Abstain.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Director Moreno?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries, and it brings us to our discussion action items. F1, action item, approval of resolution recognizing October 2019 as Filipino American History Month.
Thank you. Before I get started on this resolution, I do also want to thank Director De La Cruz. Sunday night, as we were crafting letters about the public safety power shutoff, PSPS, we were desperate for translation because we wanted this letter to go out in Spanish. Rick and I were, Deputy Superintendent Edson and I were like, oh my gosh, we can't use Google Translate, but what do we do? And Director De La Cruz saved the day, driving home from the Central Valley at midnight and translated, I don't know how you did it, on a phone. I don't know how you did it, but she did, and I'm so forever grateful that we could put that out that way. So, yes. So this resolution I bring forward, as we began to research and study about Filipino American history, one of the things that I remember from my own childhood is that I was actually raised on a Bracero labor camp. And so those students in here, I want you to look that up when you're out someplace, Bracero labor camp. And there was a gentleman at the camp who cooked the food in the mess cabinet for mess hall for all of the people who were there. So the Mexicans who came from Mexico to work in the fields. My family also worked in the fields, and so we were all melded together. And his name was Tony, and I will never forget him because he cooked the best food in the whole wide world. And so when I think about Tony as a Filipino, I thought about, I'm gonna take a look at Mr. Larry Itliong, who was, as you can see by the writing that we did in the report, a partner of Cesar Chavez in the UFW strikes, in the Delano grape worker strikes. He was very instrumental, and I think Director De La Cruz can even add to this from her background and her history. And so I want to show a very short video to honor Filipino American History Month, and actually Mr. Larry Itliong.
Heart felt heavy as he explained that he had a new dream. He was staying in America. This really was about creating a history series. I'm a mom to 4 kids. My kids always get sent home with papers or documents that say, okay, here's a list of all the famous people that you can do a report on, pick one. And there's really no one that looks like them or anyone that they can identify with or who looks like their parents. There's nothing for our children to read, for our community to read about Filipino American history, and Filipino Americans have been here the longest out of all the Asian American ethnicities, yet we are not in textbooks. So our contributions, and especially our contributions to the farm labor movement, which is one of the most important social movements in California, when you talk about economics, when you talk about agriculture, when you talk about farming, we're not in that story. It's been 40 plus years since Larry Itliong died, and we have a video that we show everybody that we have to let people know his story, because people don't. People do not know this history. But if you ask any of them, any of the communities that we've gone to, you ask them if they know Cesar Chavez, and they know who he is. But they have no idea that Larry Itliong even existed. This is a travesty that the children in Stockton don't know who their Martin Luther is. They don't know Larry Itliong, and they don't know what their Selma is. He wanted to be a labor organizer, someone who inspired his fellow workers to join together into a union that fights for their rights. When we talk about ethnic studies, and I think just looking at this ethnic studies lens, not just the Filipino American history or story, is that research has shown us that when students can identify with somebody in their textbook, someone who looks like them and who's from their same ethnic background, their grades go up, truancy levels go down, they become much more successful. but I'm here to really create and to move across the country a learning community that recognizes, that celebrates, that talks about Larry Itliong, who led the Delano Grape Strike with the Filipinos and who also co-founded the United Farm Workers with Cesar Chavez. There's a point where he talks to Cesar Chavez, and we don't necessarily have the whole conversation, but from my understanding of the situation is he had told Cesar, when you guys go on strike, we're going to break your strike. And when we go on strike, you're going to break our strike. It's a vicious circle. We have to come together. And Cesar's not sure. He said he's not sure if they have the capacity. So he actually goes to the Mexican organization, to the Mexican farm workers, and they go and they do a vote like the Filipinos did a vote. And they voted to go on strike with the Filipinos. So it's really taught me and really ingrained that the fact that ideas grow and over the course of time can absolutely change the path, change a community's path, can change American history. Larry wasn't sure if he would ever become a lawyer, but he could still help people get justice. He was going to stay. And that's my favorite part, because he stays, despite it all.
With that, I turn it back to the board.
Thank you, Superintendent, for that. Director De La Cruz.
So I have the honor of being a child of the UFW, and part of your write-up is, talks about the Agbayani Village, which is a little community in Delano in the Central Valley, right smack in the middle of California. That was really the birthplace of farm worker organizing, both the AWOC, which is what the Filipinos started, and the UFW Organizing Committee, which is what Cesar and Dolores started. And there's a couple of names that are missing from the story. I just want to honor Philip Veracruz and Brother Pete Velasco, who were part of the Manongs that were Manong is a kind of an honorary term that you give to your tios or your tatabuelos, your grandparents, your older tios, who are Filipino. And the solidarity and the class consciousness and the radicalism of the Filipino brothers were so instrumental in pushing the Mexicans to go out on strike. And that is so much a part of the story that inside of the movement is told, but I think this is so clearly, outside of the movement, it's not. So the 40 acres is, the kind of heart of the UFW movement, and the Agbayani village was built for the Manongs, who, when they first immigrated here, came by themselves. So men, single men, most of whom had families in the Philippines that they never went back for because of lack of resources to do so, because of the difficulty in immigrating back and forth across oceans, and there were anti-miscegenation laws all throughout California because of racism, and so they didn't have families of their own. They didn't have children, and they were aging. And it was so much a part of kind of the movement to figure out a way to take care of our Manongs, to take care of our folks who had given so much to the movement. And so for that reason, the Agbayani village was built, and it's kind of like a little apartment complex with little rooms and a clinic that also provided health services to folks in the movement. And my mom was, I think, 9 months pregnant, organizing in Stockton, when she got called down to Delano for a meeting, which Cesar knew was the only thing that was going to bring her off the campaign. And so came down to Delano and then found out that she had been grounded until she had a baby, me. And so she used to tell this beautiful story about how the 2 weeks before my birth, she was just surrounded by all of these old older Filipino men who hadn't had an opportunity to see their own children be born and to take care of their grandchildren. And the way that they showered her with love and an excitement in having a baby born, she just took to heart everywhere. And so everywhere I went, these were my abuelitos in the movement, these Filipino men who took care of me and kind of ushered me into the world. So I was actually born on the 40 acres in the Farm Worker Clinic next to the Agbani village. And it is such a part of my history to honor Filipinos and how incredible and radical and organized and truly inspirational they were for Mexican farm workers who had, tried unsuccessfully in different generations to organize. And it wasn't until really, as this describes, as you described, Diane, when these two communities that were oppressed, these two communities of color that were poor and seen as unskilled, joined forces recognizing that without each other doing so, they were going to fail. So I just want to give a special shout out to the Manongs in our history who should no longer go unseen. And one of my absolute favorite moments in the 40 acres ever was watching a group of about 30 or so college students from LA who were part of a Filipino American student organization who came to Delano and were just blown away at the experience of seeing themselves in history in a way that they had never experienced before as students in the state of California, and how grateful they were for an opportunity to really learn and see and feel in that space how sacred the contributions of their people were to the history of California. It just fills me all up because it really does talk about how powerful that experience is as a student, to be able to recognize and feel pride learning a story that has gone untold. And so I just want to thank all of you guys who made this board item possible, because it's super special to be able to celebrate and tell these stories. So que viva los Pinoy, que vivan los Manongs, and it's just really a cool moment to be able to celebrate this. Thank you.
I think we can't really, I'm guessing no one can really follow that, and so I'm going to ask if Director De La Cruz would like to move the item.
So I'd like to move to approve our resolution celebrating Filipino American History Month.
Second. Moved by Director De La Cruz and second by Director Fong. Roll call vote, please.
Director De La Cruz?
Si.
Director Fong?
Yes.
Dr. Manieri? Dr. McCormick?
Aye.
Dr. Sheffield? President Close?
Aye.
Dr. Moreno?
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mabuhay and Opo. Opo is yes in Tagalog. Okay, moving on to F2, which is another resolution recognizing the Week of the School Administrators. You know, I say this every year that I've presented this, that there really are no words to describe the immense amount of work that a school administrator does. I remember back when I was a APVP principal that when you're going 100 miles an hour and being tugged, and I was thinking about this today, you're tugged by the parents, you're tugged by the students, you're tugged by the teachers, you're tugged by the district office, you're tugged every which way, and principals handle it with grace and honor and humility, and especially our administrators in Santa Rosa City Schools. We recognize them on this day, but just like any recognition, I think they deserve recognition every single day. We have a gift for them that we're going to give out with a cup and some things inside of it that they'll really like. And we have the list of all of our administrators in the board report, and so look through there and see if your administrators on there. And so to the board, I bring forth this resolution honoring and recognizing our school administrators.
Thank you. Board members, comments? I appreciate this resolution. I've learned a lot about how much administrators do, and obviously the superintendent and I have worked closely together for years now, and I've gotten to know the cabinet, and I do see also, and Director Fong of course knows this firsthand, that the principals, man, they sit in in the middle of it all. And the site level administrators, they are tough and amazing multitaskers and diplomats probably, because they sit in between parents and teachers and higher level administrators and board members and everyone right there at their school sites. So I really appreciate the hard work. And I also don't know how they do it without just sleeping there all the time, without just moving in. I would think there'd be like little cots in every principal's office. So I appreciate that effort.
So I'd like to move this forward. Approval of the resolution recognizing October 13-19 as the week of the school administrator.
Second. Moved by Director Fong, second by Director McCormick. Roll call vote, please.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
And Director Moreno?
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, and that brings us to F3, a discussion item, College and Career Centers update.
Just going to have the folks come to the table. Yeah. See.
You can start.
Okay, good evening. Vice President Fong, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. Tonight you're going to hear a College and Career Center update. With me tonight I have Jesse Damian, he's our new Director of CTE and College and Career Readiness. Nicole Tafoya, who's one of our College and Career Counselors at Santa Rosa High School, who's actually transitioning to another job, but we are still sort of holding on to her while we can. And Heidi Pedrozetti, she is our COSA Counselor on Special Assignment. And with that, I turn it over to them.
Good evening, and thanks for having us here this evening. Now, as I present here, also going to be mindful to the time that we were allotted. We have some handouts for you because I am going to cover some data, and you might want to go a little bit deeper in it after our presentation. So that's the reason for some of the handouts. If it's okay, I'll go ahead and get started. As I'm coming into the district, I think I met you guys a few months ago, back in July, so this was also a good learning opportunity for me of what our career and college centers were about, the purpose of them, and so forth. But with that, we're also making sure that it aligns with our vision, mission, and priorities. So this is what you see in this slide, and wanted to highlight priority 1 and priority 6. However, it aligns with some of the other priorities as well. Our College and Career Centers started in October 2015. We have counselors in all 6 sites, and I really want to highlight the purpose, which is the third bullet. And they're a space to provide dedicated space where educators, students, industry professionals, community leaders, and parents can connect to assist students transitioning beyond high school and become life-ready learners. we have a lot of good work happening in all our 6 sites, and I asked Nicole if she could join me this evening to present, and it worked with her schedule, so I'm gonna pass the mic with her as well, so you guys could get a little bit more information of some of the activities that are happening at these centers.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Sorry, I practiced this whole thing standing up, so this is a little different. Yes, my name's Nicole Tafoya. I'm super excited to be here today to present to Dr. Kitamura, but also all of you, to just give you a little snapshot of the work that we're doing in the College and Career Centers. I take a lot of pride in my work. Every day I have the opportunity to make a difference in my students' lives, and I just love that. I love that about my job. But this is just a small snapshot of the high impact practices that we're doing in the Santa Rosa High School College and Career Center. So I wanted to start with field trips. Last year, so all of the data that's going to be presented today about Santa Rosa High School is obviously about our students that just graduated in June 2019. So we were able to provide 13 college and career related field trips. That's over 538 students were able to attend a college and career related field trip. And those field trips could be like if a student was interested in maybe nursing, we went and toured the nursing program at the JC. If they were interested in zoology, we were going to Safari West. Family engagement. Family engagement is something so powerful. We have the opportunity to bring families and students to our campus to teach them about all the things like Director McCormick was speaking about earlier, which I can't wait to talk about all of that. But anyways, so we were able to provide 7 parent engagement presentations last year, which equaled a total of over 1,050 students and families were able to get support from those nights. Nights from college testing night, SAT versus ACT, A through G, all of that good stuff. So really good information that's being fed to our families and community about the great work that we're doing. Another high impact practice is the college and career fairs at Santa Rosa High School. We were able to provide 4, so we did 2 in the spring, 2 in the fall. All 1,900 students are encouraged to attend. Teachers are pushing it out, I'm pushing it out. You hear me on the loudspeaker every day, you see signs all across the campus. It's during lunchtime, it's on campus, it's in the quad. This is an opportunity for students to come out. I make sure that there's a table for every single student, whether they're college bound to whatever, a community college, they're going to the military, maybe they're interested in the sheriff or the police. We ask our community partners to come, SAY, CHOPS, scholarship opportunities, it's all out there. There's a table for every single student, and I make sure of it. Career counseling. So this is a huge part of my job. It's one of my favorites, obviously. We do college and career grade level focused classroom presentations. So we focus on whatever grade level they're in, and, obviously, gauge, so for example, for 12th graders, we're talking about SAT or ACT scores. It just varies by the grade level. So it's a really college and career overview of the services and the resources. We talk about A through G, college testing, all of that good stuff. And then this is something I pride myself on. At the beginning of the school year last year, I took a survey of all the students and asked them, what is it you want? What do you need? How can I serve you? What are we not supporting you with? And where can we do better? And it was clear. They wanted a one-on-one conference, and they wanted to make a plan for themselves. So every student was offered in 11th and 12th grade a 15-minute conference with me to create a post-secondary plan, and that was offered to every single 11th and 12th grader at Santa Rosa High School. We talked about everything under the sun, from reviewing SAT to ACT scores, graduation requirements. Are they going 2-year, 4-year? What is it? What can I do to help support them to get to where they want to go for after high school and set them up for success? Sorry, I know I speak really fast, but I got to keep on my time here. So scheduled events. I'm super proud of this work. 24 scheduled support workshops and 43 college visits. These are after school. These are during lunchtime. We even have some on the weekends if that's needed. Some of those examples of the scholarship or workshops are like Scholarship 101, college testing skills, military options, job search 101, common application workshops, common app support. So those were 24 scheduled workshops, always highly attended. Students come, they're in the center, they're using the center. And then we also had 43 college visits. So that's actual college representatives coming to the school site and talking about their colleges. Some of our students will never have access to hear about those colleges across the United States, in different countries, all of that stuff. So this is a perfect opportunity to connect them.
And then, I love this. So we brought this up earlier. So financial aid support. We provided, on top of those 24 workshops, 26 financial aid support events at Santa Rosa High School. 26. Why do I highlight this? Is because it shows, this just makes me so happy. So anyway, we had the FAFSA and California Dream Act kickoff. We had California Dream Act workshops, FAFSA workshops. They were before school, they were at lunch, they're after school, they're on the weekends even. And we even provided a FAFSA finale event, which was, we invited all Santa Rosa high schools, all Santa Rosa City School high schools to come to Santa Rosa High School last year, right before the deadline approached, to help support getting those students to meet the deadline. And so what that meant was, by providing our students these opportunities, these additional nights, more access, Santa Rosa High School had 350 out of 455 seniors complete a FAFSA or California Dream Act. That's a 77% completion rate. It's not only the highest in the district, it's the highest in the county for a school with our enrollment, and it's in our history. So I am so proud our students, we can say, are set up and have completed the FAFSA. And not only just because I'm a college and career counselor, I just want to let you know that completion of the FAFSA is one of the best predictors of whether a high school senior will go on to college, as seniors who complete the FAFSA are 63% more likely to enroll in post-secondary education. So that's why I highlight that. That's why it's so important. And then that brings me to my final slide of the why. Why? Why is the College and Career Center so important? Why is the work that we're doing and all of the things you guys talk about at your board meetings on a regular basis so important? It's because the College and Career Center is helping eliminate those barriers. We're giving students hope. We're providing opportunities, resources, support, and access. Over 64% of the class of 2019 last year was registered and ready to go to attend classes in the fall at the JC. It's the highest number we've ever had in our history and in the district of students that were set up to attend community college, which, guess what, is free. And on top of that, it's the highest, so the rest of the class of 2019 obviously are doing great things too. That's four-year universities, colleges, studying abroad, taking a gap year, traveling, joining the workforce. This picture brings me so much joy, because all of those students are set up. They've completed the FAFSA, or they're attending doing something post-secondary of those options. And my big push is, we're counting every student in, no matter what, in the College and Career Center at Santa Rosa High School, and I take a lot of pride in that. I didn't have a College and Career Center, and so I could just only imagine where, I could have been if I would have had those options and that information to my family and helping us with all of that support. And that's it.
Nicole, may I interrupt you for a second? The young man that you're photoed with there, I believe he's one of the young men that spoke to the board through the video of the certificate specialist?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you.
That is Renee Luna.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Nicole. As I was gathering information for this presentation and learning again about all the work that's happening, I also realized and came across how much stakeholders had input in creating this space, and that's so important of having a dedicated space to do this work. It just speaks volumes, as real estate is valuable in our schools. Next, I just want to highlight some of our partners. I wasn't able to put them all on here. I'm still learning others that are working with us, but one of the partnerships that we do have in helping us implement what we call work-based learning, and work-based learning is the continuum of awareness, exploration, preparation, is really an instructional strategy with other activities that come along with it. And we've partnered up with Social Advocates for Youth. And I asked Heidi if she could just give us a quick update on some of the work that's being done.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. So I get to talk about work-based learning, which is in its 4th year in Santa Rosa City Schools in our partnership with SAY. We have 4 work-based learning coordinators that are spread out through the 6 high schools, and they partner with this list of 60 different industry folks doing things from volunteers for maybe mock interviews, or maybe industry tours, or the Bite of Reality program that Redwood Credit Union does. So these relationships demonstrate a lot of different capacities for the work-based learning. And here are some pictures of actually getting to go out and see those 3 there to the left are actually on site Elsie Allen students learning how to operate a hydraulic cutter. So this is real hands-on kind of learning that we love about work-based learning. Next slide. So this gives you the 2018-19 work-based learning highlights, and the 8,000, we have over 7,000 high school students, and so the 8,000 at the top of total student engagements might be a student participating in a field trip and then also participating in a mock interview. But this is a nice summary of all the contact that we've been able to have with students around this very applied learning strategy of work-based learning. So thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. And just wanted to add, just make relevance to some of the topics that came up today, as because our workforce is definitely changing, and a lot of it, and what we're trying to do is that exposure to students of what's out there for them, and that's where some of these activities are important. We're also collecting other type of data, and I believe it was shared at other board presentations, stuff like our Naviance system that collects student information. But what I'm going to share next is something that's new to us, that the state it's made available to us, and that is a college going rate. I just want to, the caveat for me is that, one, this is new. I'm still learning all the filters to extract the different types of data that you could look at. And when we look at data, it could be kind of interpreted in different ways. This is why I gave some handouts, so if you guys feel like you want to go deeper after the presentation. But just another set of points that we're going to be looking at and kind of gauging it. On this slide, our current college going rate is at around 60%. And how it's extracted is from the graduating class of 17-18. So just because, students transition into college by the time you collect that data and made available to us, so you're looking at a couple years out. As I mentioned, not this evening, but when we first met and I came to work here, originally from Mendocino County, and I just happened to look at our county data, and that one is nowhere close to what we have here. So it's all also, and look at the different perspective and that, but we do have a bit of room to grow. Other things I was able to extract on how it looks like based on our per high school. And when I look at college going rate, that is high school graduate completers. And from there, how many of them are enrolled in college? Okay. I don't know if you guys had questions for me or anything. You're just looking through it. I just keep going through it. Okay. The other one I was able to pull, and Dr. Kitamura, I apologize because on our communications, I said I probably couldn't pull this, but then I figured out how to do it. Again, I'm trying to learn what's available to us, but I was able to pull the race and ethnicity. And then I also created this slide to show the percentages of those that graduated from our school and how that breakdown happens. However, like when you look at this subgroup, these additional subgroups, I'm not able to do that just because in this area, sometimes they're double counted and it doesn't break it down that far. So for example, socioeconomic disadvantage, we might have males and females there, so that's why you just don't, it's hard to extract it that way, but this is the best I could do when it comes to this subgroups. But the one I also was able to go back and looked at, even though this is new to us, they have it for 4 years, at least they had 4 years worth of data uploaded. And so I just kind of took it and tried to break it down a little bit more on what our college going rate is in the last 4 years and how does it compare to the state. And one thing, and then I just like maybe what you're doing, asking those why questions, right? Why is this? How is this? So then I just try to compare it. Okay, why what's the discrepancy here, or what's happening? And the bigger decline had to do with how many students were transitioning to a two-year institution, because junior colleges, two-year institutions are also part of the college-going rate. So then this made me think of what was shared earlier of college two-year institution tuition free. I think that would also help our rates, but there's different factors that probably contributed to this, anywhere from declining enrollment, the economy, and so forth. But I did wanted to share this because this is also just data points that we want to make sense, and how do we align our work as we're reaching out. So moving forward, we want to make sure that we're doing outreach and messaging both at the middle school and going into our secondary institutions. We want to look at and use different data as we shared this evening for changes that need to be made, and also, and I didn't put up there, but also successes that we have, and highlight that. And then also we want to increase industry connection and resources. Now, I don't think we have time for, do we have time for this? And because I've also, I think in community gatherings, I've seen a few of you out there. There's also this initiative, a portrait of a graduate that's happening here in the community. And this also ties into this work because we really do need this community effort, because we're preparing students for jobs that don't even exist yet. And so there's a video embedded here, and I'll just kind of leave you with that video, and unless you guys, and maybe just questions at the end.
And with that, we turn it back over to the board.
Thank you for the report. Do we have questions or comments from the board? Discussion. Director De La Cruz.
So Nicole, are you working a different job now? Is that what I heard? Because I would be really sad about that. What is the job that you're working now?
I'm Mondays and Wednesdays at the site right now, but I'm transitioning over. I'm at SCO, so I'm a mental health, fire recovery, counseling specialist. So I'll be doing a lot of the fire recovery, and so like all of this PG&E, all that stuff, helping and support schools, and I'll still be working with Santa Rosa City Schools, so I'm still working with you guys.
Okay,
but yes.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you full time.
Oh.
She will be back. Because I'm just so grateful for your enthusiasm and for how much it is so clear that you love what you do. And I can't imagine a better person to be kind of inspiring kids to find their path and their passion than somebody like you. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And then, Mr. Damian, thank you so much for all of this data. I feel like it really helps us understand and make very good informed data-driven choices about our policies and our kind of, areas of focus. So I'm looking at, as you mentioned, this is on page 11 of ours, but like the difference between the state going college rate for migrant kids, states like 54%, not great. We're at 15%, like, wow, that's a place where we really need to dedicate some resource and some time. And then like, wow, on homeless kids going to college, that's incredible. So I would love to hear more about how you're understanding what's working with these populations that are vulnerable and how you're able to address kind of their unique place in the world and how you're able to really make sure that they have what they need to go forward. So this is just incredible data. Thank you for figuring out the program and figuring out how to bring it to us, because I think it really is, helps us drive. And then I just want to give a shout out to Santa Rosa Middle's STEAM program. When I think about, are our kids ready? My 7th grader had to do like 3 weeks of personal finance and had to do like budgeting and a financial plan for his client, and he was pulling his hair out, but at the end of 3 weeks he had a vocabulary and an understanding of why I have a budget spreadsheet and how when we bought cleats in the middle of, the month, how is that going to affect our budget eating out for the rest of the month? And like that, he was thinking about it, and he's a total, techie robot head, and I'm just super psyched that he has that kind of support and people who are really excited and thinking in such a future-oriented way. So just thank you so much for your work.
Director McCormick.
So thank you for the presentation. Couple things. It was interesting to see that video because at our Masters in Governance training, we saw a similar video. It had some different statistics, but the statistics regarding technology and the speed at which things are changing are just like mind-blowing, staggering, and I think we need more emphasis, more connection to this, and making sure that while students are in school and meeting their A through G requirements and very traditional things that we've done in education for years and years, reading and writing, languages, speaking, communication, those are just foundational and not really preparing for that transition. So I think this is really important. And something that somebody said in our Masters of Governance class, I just haven't been able to get it out of my head this past weekend, and this English teachers, former English teacher here, you might freak out when I say this, but somebody said that things are moving so fast that reading and writing are gonna become obsolete subjects that we're teaching in our classes because it's going to be considered more of a fine art, like classics, classical music, than something that is necessary for communication today. And the other thing that somebody said is that they're gonna stop teaching languages, or someone proposed this concept of stopping to teach languages because we're gonna be walking around with translators. And so, we can have, regardless of our native language, we can have a conversation that the app is so good, the technology is so good that like innuendos phrases and hidden meanings and symbolic language that often get lost in translation and make things really confusing, those things are going to be gone because it's going to be like Star Trek, and we're going to have a little thing on our throat and we can have a conversation.
Unless there's a PG&E power.
Right, unless power's out. Yes, but, and so, okay, so that seems like a big leap from where we are, but it stuck with me because I think there's some truth in it. And I think if we're not paying attention to these things and really focusing on being college and career ready, we're not preparing them to do what they're going to be required to do. And other countries are doing a better job at this than we are, which was the video we saw and was intense. The other thing is that I'm really glad you focused on the FAFSA being the gateway to getting people to go to college. I never really realized how directly that was connected. What was the percentage again that you said?
That they're more likely to access post-secondary options once they've completed that application.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It is.
And it is, I don't know if people in the room have sat down and tried to do the FAFSA. It's daunting. It takes a lot of time. It can be very intimidating. You have to log in. There's all these pieces to it. But there are resources and support out there, but I think we need to be integrating that in more. So yes, keep doing what you're doing. Please, as you're shifting, make sure that this curriculum does not go with you. Leave. I want that this should be implemented throughout all of our schools for sure.
And actually, I was just recently at a conference. It's becoming a state. In different states, there was a graduation requirement to fill out the FAFSA.
That's brilliant. So it should be.
It's trending. So
yeah. And just another example. I'm pro SRJC. I bleed red and blue, but. They just switched this year that you no longer have to apply for the Doyle Scholarship. If you don't know about the Doyle Scholarship, look it up. More free money, non-competitive scholarship. You qualify, you get it. So
it's pulled directly from the FAFSA.
Yeah, so it never used to be. You used to have to apply separately really early, like in March, to get the Doyle Scholarship, and now it's through the FAFSA only. So once you complete this, they automatically pull you up, say yes, you qualify, and you automatically are a Doyle Scholar, and you don't have to apply any other places. And so I think that seems to be the movement. So I think it's really important for us, I'm so glad you guys are on top of this, that we keep pushing that, especially at the high school level, and getting people very comfortable with it, lots of support, lots of opportunity to actually go through it, because it's not something you sit down and do in one night. No. It takes a while, there's a bunch of tax
And that's why I highlighted that there were 26 opportunities for families, because it's providing access before school, after school, on the weekends, not just a one-stop shop and calling it a day when we have one night. It has to be. And
it's not a one-stop shop process, but once you're in the system, this is the other thing students out there and parents out there need to know. Once you're in the system, it's much easier to just update your information year after year, but that first time is a big step, and I know they're working to streamline things even better, but thank you for bringing that statistical information, and I didn't really realize how important that FAFSA is. And on the flip side, I think there are a lot of parents out there that don't encourage their students to do it because they think we're not going to qualify for financial aid. And that's not true. It's now the requirement to apply for like any scholarship opportunity. So yeah, really important. Thank you.
And that's why I think as a culture, that's where we're, if we're all having that conversation, starting in middle school, starting in our high schools, our teachers are having it, our board is having it, everybody's communicating the same thing, that this is the move and this is how we're all going. That's where we're gonna win and see that culture change.
Yep. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention.
Director Fong.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for your work. I just want to give a little history lesson here. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Diane Kitamura secured a grant. I forgot which grant it was, Diane, but it was substantial, and it was what started the career centers back then. Used LCAP money. That wasn't a grant.
But the board approved the LCAP to fund, I mean, it was $800,000 to get the career centers going, college and career centers going. So it was a huge priority that has paid off tenfold.
And if I could interrupt you for 1 second, since we're talking about the history, because I think it's really relevant for the kids who just left. Gosh, wait, stay. And Director Moreno, is that this is one of the times when we sat, 2 board members, Donna J. and I, sat and listened to the Tomorrow's Leaders Today kids and said, what do you need more than anything at your schools? And they said college and career centers. And we marched in and talked to then, I think, Socorro, who then said to Diane, we should make it happen. And Diane made it happen. But it was fast, and it was directly from students who said exactly what they needed. They really gave us so much detail. We took notes. We gave that the kind of specific information. This is the kind of thing that these students need. And Diane made it happen, and it directly from the students.
Well, we all made it happen. I didn't, and the students got to pick the furniture. In the college and career centers, they picked what kind of furniture they wanted to have. It was beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Best furniture ever in those rooms. Bouncy balls, rolly things. It's super fun.
Proceed. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. So the little history, so thank you, because I got to cut the ribbon on the one at Montgomery, and I know that Rick is still there, so that's, hi Rick. Yeah, he did great, thank you. Let me tie together that equity piece again. And what I always say, I'll say what I always say. Let's start with what I always say. College and career, and our strategic plan is life-ready learners. And I'm actually talking to my fellow board members here as we try to have a discussion. Oh my God, lost my point. Equity. Totally forgot it. So we have college and career, we have life-ready learners. And we're going backwards. You talked about going backwards a little bit down into the grades. What in our classrooms are we still looking at that supports life-ready learners? If we're looking at that video, and we've seen, you know, this is a fantastic video. Thank you for showing it to us. I've seen this before. This is one of the best ones I've seen. What are we preparing our students out of grade 12 to do? Take tests by themselves? Memorize, and our good teachers are really proactive teachers, progressive teachers are not doing that anymore. More and more teachers are really preparing kids for these kinds of worlds, but you know, you're not gonna be a checker anymore. You're gonna be out there communicating with customers and upselling things and whatever you're doing. But it's the world of work. It's our job to prepare for a future that we don't even know what the future is, especially a geezer like me who's, you know, all that. So that's the hard part, and I do believe that we can no longer have a K-12 system. We need to have a preschool 14 system, that the reality is 2 years post-high school is the bare minimum that we need to do. And free colleges, free JC, is another way we can get there. And the career certificates, I think you're all involved in that. We need to open that up, and we need to make increased pathways to that. So the kids who are thinking that, sorry, Scarlet Letter is boring, which I really liked, or Great Gatsby was boring, which I also liked, sorry. So we can maybe teach English through Otto or whatever it is, and we have different kinds of ways into our literacy and our math and our science, and that's the work before us as a board in terms of setting policy. We're not in the weeds, we're not doing all this kind of stuff every day that you're doing, but we certainly can set policy, and that's what we can keep doing as a strong governance team. And then I just want to point out again for the equity piece, if we're looking at one of the slides, and I don't know which one, it's the college going rate for California high school students by high school in our own district. The discrepancy there between our highest achieving numbers there and our lowest achieving numbers is too great. There's an achievement gap there, which we have learned that we don't call it an achievement gap, it really is an opportunity gap. So how do we keep moving forward with our strategic plan? How do we be brave and courageous and call those shots and set policy so that we create greater opportunities for kids who are maybe starting behind the 8 ball and behind the starting line? That's just not okay. And it's urgent, and we can't let more days go by for yet another class like the class of 2019, the class of 2020, the class of 2030. you know, starting way back. So that's what we have to be really courageous about, and we're working together with positive intent and trust. So I'm really excited to do this work because this is faster work with intention and with a lot of courage.
Thank you. Director Manieri. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Sheffield, and then Director Manieri.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Thank you for the presentation. And one of the themes that was touched upon at the Equity Conference last week was data driving policy, and where we have the ability to choose and dedicate where we want to spend our resources and our time. And having these college and career centers on campuses, this is one of these supports that we're able to offer. Looking at the statistics in one of the sessions at the conference, looked at first-time college goers, and that taking that initial step, if you're first in your family to attend, you're basically on your own. You don't have any other support, you don't have any other guidance, and you don't know where to turn to for that guidance. So just completing a FAFSA form, that, you know, when you see these results, you see the percentage that little push, that little nudge, how far that actually goes is really significant. And so now we have data in the district here where we can see, well, you know, we have, looking at the Santa Rosa High data, where 350 out of 455 seniors completed this form, and we have the data that says, well, we need to focus, we need to, on all of our schools, and as you were bringing up, I'm sorry, starting the education and the process earlier, maybe at the junior high level, so that it just kind of gets rolled into your way of thinking. It's not so much, you know, what am I going to do when I graduate? It's you already have that, you know, and if college is a possibility that you never thought of before, and all it took was completion of a FAFSA form to give you that extra nudge. That's what it takes. So that's where we have the ability to focus our resources on that. So I just want to thank you, and I think this is a great direction that we're headed down, and want to see an upward trajectory across the board. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Manieri.
Thank you for that presentation. I definitely share with my colleagues that the only direction that we want to see this go is forward and up. And I think that what you've done at Santa Rosa High School is just so amazing. Like, I was just so impressed, and I wish that was happening everywhere, to be completely honest, because when I look at the statistics and I look at our high schools and how they're doing in comparison to one another in the state, it's just you can't miss that. It's so glaring. And so I think that what I always come back to and what I always think about is communication and community. And so how are we communicating with families that this is a support, this is something that the district has available to not just the students, but to the families and to parents, and come to FAFSA nights. You know, how are we doing that well, and how are we reaching the most everywhere, right? Not just at some high schools, but everywhere. And community building. I'm so glad that you talked about culture and creating a culture where we value college and career life ready students, and we have a culture of filling out your FAFSA and thinking about, you know, post-secondary opportunities. I think that that's something that we definitely struggle with as a district, is having a sense of community. And I think that this is a really great start if we can build a community around this culture. So thank you, and I'm super, super happy that we have this team right here. Thank you.
I thank you for your comment about community, because I think that's exactly what Nicole has done at the College and Career Center at Santa Rosa High School. Her mindset has been in my opinion, it'll always be yes, it'll never be no. It's like, I'm gonna go forward in this and it's gonna be yes, and she's gonna do whatever it takes to make things happen for kids. And I think examples or evidence of that are the 15-minute conferences. I think examples of that are the number of nights she had these parent nights. No one told her, this is the criteria, here's the rubric, this is what you need to do. Her mindset was that I have to create this culture, and that's what she did. And so I think as we spread this throughout the district, I think our team has to look at what are we doing to create barriers, what are we doing to reduce barriers so that what Nicole has done, that what Ms. Tafoya has done happens throughout the district. I also think that it is the mindset of all of us, meaning staff, teachers, administrators, support staff. We really have to take a hard look at what our assumptions are about our delivery of curriculum and instruction, teaching and learning right now, right here. And the reason I say that is after listening to the youth design crew from Ridgeway High School, where Jasmine is a leader on that team, they have the design question. They have it right now, right here, what they need as students who are on the margin, have been on the margin, to succeed. And so I keep saying it's coming, and it is coming, that information. And I want you to hear the questions that they came up with in their 4-week workshops with each other. Mind you, there was some assumptions about these students that maybe it would be difficult for them to come up and work through these kinds of things and to present. They blew that all out of the water. I can't wait for you to see the video. The first question was, how can we design a curriculum to engage and support students who struggle with conventional schooling? That's from the YDC, folks. And examples are life skills, budgeting, taxes, stocks, healthy outlets, problem solving, hands-on projects, electives that are engaging. So they will design from this and work together with teachers and staff about what Math 3 will look like. Not Math 3 like the traditional Math 3, but a Math 3 beyond anybody's imagination, right? So to answer some of the questions that are happening, the way it's gonna happen are through kids. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the great report and for continuing to do good work through these career centers. I know that they really have been a huge change. And again, I applaud the staff for that effort. I applaud administration for putting it together and the board for continuing to fund it. But really the fact that it came directly from students, I think that's why it's really successful. It came directly from students saying this is what we need to be successful, and we need to keep listening to that. So thank you.
There's a second question. I didn't realize I forgot about the second question. You have to hear this. How can we create a classroom climate that respects students' diverse backgrounds, allowing for a safe and productive learning environment? And examples are interact and connect with students, like journal time, talk about the day, appreciate folks, talk about well-being, see us as young adults with responsibilities, be understanding, get personal, to see how we're doing, be sensitive. From them.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on. We have a public hearing on, let's see, we're on F4, public hearing regarding sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials for 2019-2020 grades K-6. I will open the public hearing. I have no blue card, so I'll close the public hearing. And I will move on to F8, action item, sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials for 2019-20 grades K-6.
So, good evening. Yes, this is an opportunity for you guys to hopefully approve sufficiency of textbooks for instructional materials in grades K through 6. With that, I turn it over to the board.
Questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve, we're on F5, right?
We are.
Move to approve sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials for 1920 grades K through 6.
Second.
Moved by Director McCormick, second by Director Manieri. Roll call vote, please.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Sheffield? Oops. President Close?
Aye.
Director Moreno?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, and then, sorry, we're having a power problem over here. Brings us to F6, public hearing regarding sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials for 2019-2020, grades 7 through 12. And with that, I will open the public hearing. I have no blue cards, and so I will close the public hearing. And we'll move on to F7, action item, sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials for 2019-2020, grades 7 through 12.
Good evening. This also is an action item. The board will consider approving the resolution for sufficiencies of textbooks and instructional materials for 2019-2020 in grades 7 through 12. And with that, I turn it over to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Guzman. Are there any questions from the board? None, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move to approve resolution number 2019-2017 for sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials for grades 7 to 12.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Director De La Cruz, seconded by Director McCormick. Roll call vote, please.
Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director Manieri? Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Director Moreno?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And that brings us to F8, an action item, first read and optional approval of revised board policies per recommendations of California School Board Association. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
So on a regular basis, we have groupings of board policy that are brought forward. I think it's on a quarterly basis. And so this is a group of policies that are being recommended for change, usually due to either new laws or changes in education code. Staff has looked through these to be sure that what we currently do is included in these board policies. And so we turn it over to you for any questions, any changes, any edits. This is a first read. If things are okay, we can move forward with optional approval, but we can also bring it back.
Questions from the board? Director Fong.
Board policy 0145 says new policy. It has to do with addressing diversity. So when it says new policy, that means it was a California School Board policy, California Schools policy, not the district. We haven't adopted it yet.
It could be that, and it could be a policy we don't have. In this case, Lori, was it a brand new policy?
What number?
0145.
0145?
0145. 0145.
415.
That is a new policy.
Right here.
It's a new policy.
They're different. One says 0145 and the board policy number is 415.
So is it new for CSBA?
Correct.
Okay, so then it's all brand new.
So because it's new and because it's really not up where everybody can read it, and because I think it's so important, can you explain that a little? You want to say a little? Do you want to say a little about it, or just read it?
I think it's right in alignment with the strategic plan that you guys have just developed. As I read through it, I think it's right in alignment. I think as we work through, we may, you may tweak it, especially as we gather feedback from the community and put it into and add to or adjust our actual strategic plan. You may come back and adjust this as well.
I think it's a very key, very valuable board policy that is right in line with our strategic plan.
Dr. Martin?
Can we have discussion yet, or is this just like the questions?
No, we can discuss.
Okay. Thank you for bringing up 0415. The first thing that I thought of when I was reading through this was ethnic studies and how this just really provides the support for ethnic studies and kind of it puts it in our policies, like we need to adopt curriculum and instructional materials that accurately reflect the diversity of our student population. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. So I was really excited when I saw this, and you're right, it is so timely and appropriate given the strategic plan that we've been working on. So I do want to say that. And I do have a couple of other things. Board policy 4140, 4240, 4340. There is a paragraph about the superintendent or designee shall not disclose the home address and any phone numbers on file for employees performing law enforcement related functions. And my question or thought is, can we also include email in this? Just because that is a way that I mean, I've worked with law enforcement agencies and they'll try to contact you if they have your email, or others might too. So I just was wondering if we could do that.
I think that's a discussion for the board to add that to the policy.
Director Fong.
Discussing?
We are discussing. There were no questions, and so we are moved on to discussion. I'm sorry. Yeah.
We're public elected officials. Our emails are on the website.
This is, I think, in terms of, so this is the bargaining units board policy, and so this is in relation to employees of the district. So this is just like protection and privacy of data and personal information.
Of the school employees?
Yes.
They also have school address, school emails that.
Correct.
So I'm not sure what you're proposing. The personal emails? Or?
Oh, I see what you're asking. Yes, personal. Yeah, because this is in regard to personal home address, personal phone number, so like personal email.
So it would read personal email. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Okay. Any objections to that from the board? Then we will add that language. Okay.
I think that makes perfect sense, as long as this is personal email. I mean, obviously, the district email is available publicly.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have one other thing.
Director Maneri.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. These are.
Okay. We're just talking about kind of Public Records Act and the application of the PRA on top of these protections, and the Safe at Home program is pursuant to the Public Records Act, and I don't know if the PRA exception that applies to the Safe at Home program would also apply to a board policy, right? So we might need to look at that a little bit more closely.
We'll check with legal counsel on that, because we'll check with legal counsel, because there may have been a reason why CSBA, usually there's a reason why CSBA leaves that out, right, or put something in. Right. So we'll check on that.
All right. You had more comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, just one more. No, different board policy. Board policy 6174, education for English language learners. When I was reading through it, I wasn't quite clear on how the reclassification was going to be done moving forward. I understand that it's using LPAC rather than the previous reclassification exam. However, I don't see LPAC clearly stated in that board policy.
Yes, and so we know that we need to add that language around the LPAC, and then we can speak maybe, but we also have reclassification that we've created here as well that's been adopted by the board if we wanted to sort of add that as well.
Yeah, I think that the actual reclassification could be an AR. We'll take a look at that, and wherever it says CEL, we will add LPAC, because that's what we should be doing. So thank you for that.
Any other comments? I think then direction is pretty clear on things to follow up on and bring it back with some clarity, or just like confirm that we are in line with related legal requirements and adding personal emails.
Yes, so what we have changes to are BP 4140, 4240, 4340, that set, as well as 6174. Would the board entertain approving the rest of the policies tonight, or would you like another board meeting to review those?
I could certainly entertain a motion to approve the rest of the new policies.
I move that we approve the board policies except for
4140, 4240, 4340, and 6174.
Perfect. Second.
Okay, moved by Director Fong, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Montieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick? President Close?
Aye.
Director Moreno?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, and that brings us to F9, is action item. Second read and optional approval of proposed board policy 5127, graduation ceremonies and activities.
So we did have the secondary counselors take a look at this policy as well. I think that we've included all the different feedback that we can at this point. So I bring this forward as a board policy for approval to the board.
Any questions? Discussion? A motion? Yes, Director McCormick?
I was just going to say, I think you did a really good job taking all the feedback and wordsmithing it so it was efficient and clear. So I appreciate that. I feel really good about it. Good job.
And just on that note, also thanks to the counselors who are a part of this and who took a look at this to make sure that this is something that is relevant and appropriate and is going to work for our student population.
Yeah, I think it was a really good process that we are going to continue. So,
Not to mention the support of SRTA LGBTQ caucus in their support. So I move the approval of the board policy 5127, graduation ceremonies and activities, as it has been amended.
Moved by Director Fong, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Director Fong? Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director De La Cruz?
Aye.
Director Montieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Director Moreno?
Aye.
All right, motion carries, and with that, I think that's a record night for this new board, perhaps. What? I wonder what's on TV on Wednesday nights. Does anyone know? Okay, we'll adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.